All right. I am sitting opposite Mr. David Francis, who not only has become a very great friend of mine, but has been a client of mine for many years now, mate. What, 2-3 years?
Just coming up 2.5, I think.
Two and a half. Amazing. Well, David is a legend in his 40s. He's a former drum tutor. He is current leader of the Green Party in South Shields, which is very impressive, mate. And also one of the most consistent men that I've ever met.
Thank you.
I will go on to say, and you're a dog lover and a heavy metal lover, mate. So
All of that
we
is
were
true.
made for each other, mate. This is just going to be like a post-Valentine's
Yeah.
podcast of me just swooning over you, mate. Anyway, hey, mate, welcome on. We chat shit every day about all kinds of stuff. I see you sometimes more than I see my own partner. You know, every day, which is a little bit strange to say. But no, it's true. Like, we see each other almost every day with training, and we're going to sea dip and all that. But on that note, sea dipping, I want to start this off with that because we are all over Facebook and Instagram every day on our sea dip escapades. And loads of people, you probably have people asking about it all the time.
I do, yeah.
What would you say is the most common question, query, thing that you get asked about sea dips?
Oh, that's a good question. Lots of people just go, do you really do that every day? All year round? And it's like, well, almost every day, yeah. And definitely all year round.
Yeah.
And then I think people are intrigued by it because they want to know what on earth made you want to start doing that, and
What did it make you want to start doing that?
just look like fun.
That's the best
Simple
reason, isn't
answer.
it? Yeah, just look like fun.
Yeah, so I mean, I kind of like various people that I've followed on social media and whatnot are into the cold therapy thing, and I tried kind of cold showers, which isn't so much fun.
Nah.
And then just because we live near the coast, it's like right on the doorstep. Why wouldn't you give it a go?
Yeah.
And you try these things and you get hooked on them.
Yeah, and you had a little encounter with a seal the other day.
I
didn't
did
you?
yesterday.
Yesterday, and I was missing yesterday, by the way. I couldn't make yesterday, and we usually dip together. David went on his own yesterday, so tell us about the seal encounter.
So I was going in on my own, which is unusual because normally there's 2 or 3 of us. And I just swam back and forth a little bit, and then I was just stood really looking into shore, and I felt something nudge against my back, and I thought it might be a bit of driftwood or something like that. Turned round and I was face to face with a seal.
What did it say?
Not an awful lot. I think it just thought I looked lonely, you know. And it was Valentine's Day,
Well,
so maybe it
yes.
thought I needed some company.
Well, there you go.
But yeah, that was a unique experience.
How did you handle it?
Well, I'm not going to lie. My first response a year ago would have been giddy with excitement and just thought that was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
But as you know, we have a mutual friend who's involved in kind of seal rescue and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember him telling me about various diseases that you can get, and that seals can bite, and the bite is extremely powerful. So I panicked slightly, and I thought I'd best give this seal some space.
Yeah.
So I swam towards the shore a little bit, but it followed me.
Yeah.
So it followed me all the way to the shore, and then kind of stopped there. And I'm still not sure if it was saying, and stay out, or if it was saying, where are you going? You know, just wanted to say hello.
Oh man,
yeah.
it could have been a little bit better at communicating for sure. But anyway, that's pretty cool. I had a similar thing where it was about the distance of me and you away. Didn't quite come a close, but very close encounter once where I had this moment. It was staring in the eyes. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I don't want to get too cosmic straight away, but I was kind of like just doing a little bit of just to take my mind off the cold, really.
Yeah.
I was kind of just thinking about some stuff, and it's not exactly like affirmations, but like there's a few phrases that I repeat to myself sometimes, and one of them is about like, you know, the universe giving me positive stuff, and I just had that thought when this seal happened. So I just thought, well, this is just a unique experience that the universe is sending me.
I don't think
so,
that. I agree. I don't think there's any coincidences. I think everything happens for us, not to us. You know, there was something there. Maybe even if it was just making sure you're not alone in the sea on Valentine's Day, mate.
Could have been that.
So, mate, the Green Party.
Yes.
You were elected leader last year. I think it was 2023. Was it?
Yeah. So This goes back a little way. So before 2019, there'd never been a Green Party councillor anywhere in the northeast, actually. And then I got elected in 2019, so I was the first Green on South Tyneside Council. And then I've been followed by several more people, so there's a group of 9 of us now. And I'm the leader of that group, which makes me the leader of the opposition on South Tyneside Council, which is like wild when you think about, you know, if you'd have told me that 6 years ago, that's where you'll be in 2024, I would have thought there's no way that's ever going to happen.
But they don't elect people by accident, right?
Well, no, it takes work.
Yeah,
definitely. And I'll be honest, without wanting to do like a politics bit, it's a lot like getting success and achievement in any sphere of life. It's like the sort of 10-year overnight success thing, you know? So it's all about consistency and just putting in the reps, if you like. So, you know, getting out, engaging with the community, talking to people on the doorstep. I know you've had leaflets with my face on through your door multiple
Mate, I've got them plastered all over your bedroom wall. They're all there.
So yeah, it's about the consistency thing and just kind of having a vision of what you want to achieve and then consistently working towards it.
Yeah. What is the overall vision for the Green Party?
Wow, we could go deep on that.
Yeah,
but
like I guess rather than being too complex and going too deep, what's the overall kind of philosophy and broad vision like?
Well, so the way I see it, at least, is like everyone thinks, well, Green Party, that's about the environment.
Yeah.
Which it is.
Yeah.
But the thing that actually drew me to it, and a lot of other people I know, is the combination of that, this sort of environmental justice, if you want to call it that, and social justice. So if you look at working within the limitations of the planet, you know, you can't just keep using resources and polluting the seas and, you know, air quality is a big issue in... you know, even in this part of the world, you can't keep on doing that stuff unchecked without causing a problem. But on the other end of the spectrum, you know, people need to have a roof over their head, food on the table, a warm, comfortable home, access to, you know, employment opportunities or education opportunities and all that kind of stuff. So it's just kind of taking care of the community and, you know, taking care of the needs of people, but without doing so in such a way that's actually like damaging the future of the planet.
Nice, amazing. How do you think that your fitness and your healthy lifestyle now, because obviously you've been part of TST with myself for a couple of years, you've mentored with me one-to-one, how would you say that your fitness has positively contributed to the things that you do, the professional jobs that you have, etc.?
I would say it's massive because it's I think it's Stephen Covey talks about it as being like a cornerstone habit. Health and fitness and exercise and looking after yourself, in as much as, you know, that 1 hour that you might invest, whether it's 6 times a week like we do, or for the people that do 3 or 4 times a week, that 1 hour pays multiple dividends just in terms of how you feel about yourself, the energy that you bring to your day. I think it's almost a forcing function where having to put that in your schedule and commit to it and do it shows you what can be done, and then you think to yourself, well, if I'm a little bit structured in how I organize my time, you know, there's kind of a knock-on effect there. But you know, it's massive in terms of physical health, obviously, and the energy that comes with that, and how you show up. And I think the energy that you bring with you into a situation is really important in terms of the way that other people respond to you. But it's really good for your mental health too. That's some time of the day that's just for me.
Yeah.
And I know that whatever happens afterwards, whether it's that we've done a TST session or we've lifted some heavy stuff around, and then getting in the sea, which is, let's be honest, there's always a moment every morning where you think to yourself, do I really want to do this today? And I think just getting over that, doing something hard actually at the start of the day that you feel great afterwards has a massive knock-on impact into your day. So whether that's your work or your relationships or your family or your friends or whatever, I think it affects everything. Yeah,
nice. So speaking of doing hard things and mental health, where were you at before you joined with me, like mentally and physically?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I'm not going to lie, with both of those things, probably like most people, I've been like very up and down over the years. And so there's been times where I've been like really, really out of shape. There's been times when I've experienced struggles with mental health, whether that's anxiety or depression or even, you know, multiple times suicidal thoughts over the years. I've had therapy, I've had counselling, I've been through, I'm not going to lie, I've been through like addiction recovery services at one time. And so, yeah, I've been in some dark places in the past with that. And, you know, I still have ups and downs now. And then in terms of physical health, there's been times where I've been really really lean. There's been times where I've definitely not been really lean.
Yeah.
And overindulged a bit and not really looked after myself. And then I find myself here now, at like age 45, I would say I'm probably in the best shape I've ever been in.
Yeah.
In terms of kind of general fitness, mental health, stamina, endurance, strength, body composition, all that stuff is like, off the charts compared to what it was 2.5 years ago.
Yeah. I'm curious now, because obviously everyone has their moments where they fall off the wagon, where they lose it a little bit. Obviously, I'm more consistent than ever now because you've developed that routine and those habits over the years. When you fell off the wagon, like when you fall off the wagon now, let's say, obviously it's not catastrophic now, but how do you handle it now compared to how you used to?
That's a really, really good question. And I think there's a couple of bits to that. The tactical bit of it, if you like, is it's not a big deal to me now if there was a night this weekend coming up, if I go for a meal and I eat something that's, quote unquote bad, or I have a couple of glasses of wine or something, it's not a big deal because I know that in the context of how I live every day, that's just one occasion and that's fine. Yeah. It's when that's like every single day and you're eating all the processed food and drinking too much and all that, that's when it's a problem. Yeah. And so I think you do get people who will be trying their best to get in shape or eat a bit healthier and, adopt some healthier habits. And then if anything goes wrong, all of a sudden it's like, I know you will have heard the analogy of like, if you got a puncture, you wouldn't then go around and slash the other 3 tires in the car. You'd fix it and get back on the road and carry on to your destination. And so it's exactly the same thing to me now. There are definitely days yesterday that there may have been a box of chocolates involved at one point, but that's fine. Yeah. I'll allow myself that and just get back on it the next day. Yeah. That's the kind of tactical bit, is just think, well, okay, next, what's next? Just get back on it the next day or the next meal. Yeah. The bigger picture thing, and this does tie in, I think, with both the mental health and the physical health thing. I think one of the things that's driven my maybe negative, if I'm going to call them that, negative habits or behaviors in the past is around doing what's right for you, or doing what you want now versus what you want longer term. Yes. Or what feels good in the moment versus what's going to actually do you good longer term. Yes. And I think one of the things for me, and this is around not just diet and exercise, but around work and rest and life balance and all that stuff too, is how do I, and this is a question I ask myself in my journal every day, is like, how am I going to demonstrate today that I love, value and respect myself? Nice. And I come up with 3 answers to that. Nice. And if you treated yourself how you treat somebody you love or care for, or, I know you've got cats, I have a dog, it wouldn't be demonstrating love and respect to the dog if I never took him for a walk and just let him laze about all day and fed him crisps and chocolate every day. That would actually be like borderline abuse or neglect or something. Yeah. That would not be doing the right thing for him. Yes. And just in exactly the same way, if you're not nurturing yourself with the right things, whether that's movement and exercise or nutritious diet or, allowing yourself rest and recovery time and all that, you wouldn't be serving your own best interest. So I think that's how I try and frame it. Look at it as like, this is demonstrating that I love and value and respect myself. Yeah, yeah. I love that. And that's like investing the time in the morning or making sure I've got recovery time. And I think there's other people that would be maybe at the other end of that spectrum. Yeah. And I have been in the past too, where you feel like, oh, I've had a really hard week. The way I'll demonstrate some love for myself is I will eat a load of stuff that I know I probably shouldn't really eat. Yeah. I'll feel bad in the morning. I'll drink a bottle of wine, whatever it is. And that feels great in the moment, but it's not really serving you long term, and you're not really valuing yourself. Yeah. You're not valuing your future self, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. I love that. And I like, just to rephrase that, I like the focus on how you want to feel, not how you do feel.
Absolutely, yeah,
like
massive.
That's critical. I see this all the time. People just following their feelings in an instant. Like, you never disregard your feelings entirely, but focusing on how you want to feel rather than how you do is entirely different. But it's just a reframe of question, isn't it? Yeah. Steering the mind in a totally different direction. Rather than, I feel like shit, therefore, well, okay, how do I want to feel?
Yeah.
It's just this. It's exactly the same situation, just presented with a different question.
Yeah.
And it changes everything, right?
I think it's to me it's about, well, it's about three things. It's about intention, which I think is huge, and
Yeah.
I could sit and talk about that all day. About intention, it's about identity and how you see yourself.
Yeah.
And then it's about like intelligent action,
Yes.
you know? And I think the intention bit's huge, and that is like something that has, without being too dramatic, that's changed my life.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of like, for the first 25 years of my life, I kind of felt like I'm just a passenger in somebody else's thing. And it's like there's a great Jim Rohn quote where he talks about if you don't have a plan for your life, you'll fall into somebody else's plan.
Yeah.
And what have they got planned for you? Not much. And and I think so, like having that intention, knowing what it is you want your life to look like,
Yes.
knowing what it is you want your week to look like or your day to look like.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, life is in the here and now. You know, life is here, life is now,
Yeah.
life every day. That's the way you spend your days, is the way you spend your life.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to allow other things to get pushed into that,
Yeah.
and they might not be the things that you would choose.
Yeah.
And I think everyone, you know, for us, we are speaking in like a privileged position of being in a relatively affluent country, you know, in terms of global terms.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got loads of opportunities and access to stuff. And people, I think, have more choice than they maybe realise. I know I did
Yeah.
when I suddenly started to try and do things a little bit differently. And as soon as you start to make a few steps in that direction, you get a bit of pace and momentum behind you. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, you're joining TST and doing Tough Mudders and getting in the sea and all
Yeah,
that.
that's it. Well, you talk about intent, and intent is like such a viable thing to bring up, because I remember when I was younger, like the intent on a weekend was to get smashed, get fucked up, get wrecked, get drunk. You know, that, but every time, like every Saturday, most Saturdays came, that was the intent, and I would say it out loud, I would speak it, and I would make it happen. I had that one intent, and every single time without failure I'd do it. Like, when was the last time that people got up with the intent, the genuine intent, like going to bed on Sunday night, getting up on Monday morning, today I'm going to work on my health, today I'm going to make myself feel good through healthy habits. Like, we'll not, what's the phrase, we'll not get what wants, but we'll always get our standards. All the time. We'll not get what wants, but we'll get our standards.
Yeah.
And most people are just not willing to raise their standards because it gets hard work, isn't it? We talk about doing hard things. That life's too easy to do easy things now. We'll talk. You touched on choice there, and if anybody thinks they don't have very much choice in this world, take one look at Netflix. For £10 a month, you can get 10,000 parts of entertainment. So much so that we end up with so much choice, we become overwhelmed. So we're paying a cheap price for so many choices, and we become so overwhelmed at the choice. And we've got that in many areas of our life. Like, we've got gyms on every street corner now. We've got access to, you know, all different kinds of foods to eat in supermarkets. Like, the choice is overwhelming for what we could choose. But we're always almost gravitated 100% of the time to choose what's easy, aren't we?
Yeah.
Choose what's easy, but life gets harder when we do that. Choose what's hard, like we do every morning, and life gets easier.
Exactly.
So I'm curious, what would you say has been your biggest results since joining me in my program?
So I mean, in terms of like tangible results, it's things like, well, I mean, I'm 2 and a bit stone lighter than I was when I first started coming. And bear in mind, actually, when I started here, I'd been running 4 times a week for about 7 or 8 years. So I was somebody who was doing
you were doing
exercise
something,
and training. So like I've lost quite a bit of weight. I've gained a lot of muscle because I'm doing the strength training too. And then for me, the real results are things like doing the Tough Mudder or Total Warrior stuff with a group of people and feeling part of that community. And the community here is outstanding. And you know, that to me is as big a result as anything else. And then there's all the kind of the additional stuff. So, you know, the day that we did at the Headworth Hall in December, doing the, you know, walking on broken glass thing and the snapping an arrow on your neck and all that. Those are the sorts of things that I've probably spent most of my life running away from, stuff like that. Yeah. And now I'm like, I run towards it because I know how it's going to make me feel afterwards. Yeah. And I know how it's going to elevate my kind of, you know, my confidence and just expand my world. So I'm like all about, you know, give me more of that, you know?
Yeah. What do you do now to stay motivated, David?
I don't feel like I have to try and stay motivated.
That's huge. That's a
Because-
big insight. That. How has that changed over the years, though? Because surely years ago you had to fight to stay motivated
Yeah,
in the earlier days.
I'm not going to recommend this to anyone, but I have been in the past one of those like all or nothing people, and a bit perfectionist,
Yeah.
you know. And so from the ages of about 10 onwards, I was very, very single-minded about music. And so I would practice and study music like hours a day.
Yeah.
And you know, I couldn't wait for the summer holidays when I was at school, because I would just literally play music for like 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was the coolest thing that I could be spending my time doing.
Yeah.
And so then when I got into things like whether it was running initially or then coming here, it's not I don't feel like I need to motivate myself to do it, because I know that it's something that I want, but more importantly, I know how I feel after I've done it.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, there's a couple of cliches about, you know, you never regret the training sessions you do, but you maybe regret the ones you miss. And like the other one I like is the heaviest weight in the gym is the front door.
Yeah. Exactly.
And all that. And, you know, people talk about the hardest steps, just putting your trainers on to get out of the
it
house
is.
and all
The
that.
hardest battle is just getting through the room, isn't it? Or turning on the camera if we do online training with Zoom. It's just actually the hardest part is starting, not the doing, isn't it?
But to me as well, it's because it's about it's about that daily discipline thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, we talked about intention and choice, and I try and think of it in terms of creativity as well. Like, what do I want to create? What's the feeling I want to create? And is the feeling I want to create being lethargic and sluggish and starting my day with regret because I didn't do something that I wanted to do?
Huge.
Or is it about creating a choice of, you know, feeling connected with other people, feeling part of a community that's supportive, and doing something that makes you feel energized and positive? And as I say, like, there's something about, like, when I sit down at my desk to start my work day, even if I've got stuff that maybe in an ideal world I wouldn't have to do, or I've got a difficult conversation to have with somebody or something like that, or I've got to look at our budget figures, which I always like. Budget is not my strong point. You know, if I've done the hard thing first, if you like, and I've made myself, you know, I've put myself in a peak state, like, everything else becomes easier. And so I don't think it takes motivation for me at this stage.
Yeah.
And it's about, like, getting back to the creating thing. It's about who's the person I want to create.
Yes.
What's the version of David Francis that I want to be?
Yes.
And I know that in each moment there's choices that you could take, and it's almost like the angel and the devil on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, the version of me that I want to be, the best possible version of me, what would they do on a daily basis? And it's not like shy away from the hard things.
Yeah.
And it's not skipping the training that I know is going to be an investment in my long-term health.
Yeah.
It's doing those things. And, you know, I'm not going to frame it like it's a battle every day, because it's not. But I just know that it's like each positive step that you take, whether it's about a nutritional choice or having the difficult conversation, or, you know, getting up and going to training, that's all a vote for the kind of person that you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think, again, it's back to that intent thing, having some clarity on what is the kind of person you want to be, and then taking the steps towards it.
I want to touch on that point that you made about the battle, because obviously I hear this all the time. It's always a battle. It's a battle. And it's exhausting for people, right? And you're right. It's not a battle. It's only a battle when you're playing catch up. And we've got this phrase. It's not my phrase, but I say it all the time. It's easier to keep up than catch up.
Absolutely.
And that's basically what you're saying, is you've attained this level of not needing motivation because you've just kept up. It hasn't been perfect every day, but it's been sort of 8 out of 10 most of the time. 8 out of 10, 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
Basically, that's the way. It's 80% of the time. That's ultimate success, that. And keeping up rather than catching up.
Yeah.
And you don't lose motivation now because you're keeping up. You're relentless in the keeping up, and people call it a battle when they're playing catch up all the time. I feel, so all this like just chasing a bit, and then they're all down, and then they reach this high, then drop down to a low, because it's just it's not a consistency attitude, it's an intensity attitude.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's most people's problems, isn't it? It's like, again, like you say, all or nothing person. There's nothing particularly wrong with being all or nothing, but The disadvantages that brings is when you can't be all, I'll be nothing at all, fuck it, I'll do it later. I'll decide next month, after my holiday, next year, when things have settled down at work, when the house sale's gone through, when the kids are back at school, and we wait months, if not years, to go ahead with the things that we want to do because it's not perfect. Because we're an all or nothing person. We become so attached to that identity that intensity is the thing that throws us off, I find.
Yeah, and I think I'd heard people talk about this over the years, and I didn't quite get it until I experienced it for myself. You hear people talk about, well, fall in love with the process. Yeah. It's not about the prize, it's about the process. It's not about the destination, it's about the journey, all of those things. And you hear people say that and you think, well, yeah, that makes sense. I get that. But I think this is really true with music, certainly, which there's no one who's like, oh, well, now I know how to play the drums, or now I've finished guitar, completed it, mate.
Yeah.
There's none of that. It's an infinite thing.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Health and fitness is exactly like that.
100%.
There isn't an end point.
100%. That's why I think most people need to step away from this goal of weight loss.
Yes.
Because it's like, I need to lose 2 stone. Great. Like, don't like feel good for doing that. But what then? And most people never, ever have the next step. It's just lose 2 stone, lose 2 stone. And if the scales don't change, I'm miserable, I'm depressed. What's the point? I'll eat, I'll drink, I'll smoke and do all kinds because it's not working, because the scales aren't saying one thing. We become fixed on the one thing. It's just the prize, the goal. It's like, no, the journey and the process matters more. But the issue is I think you're right in what you say. Like, it should be health and fitness a never-ending goal. Yeah. Like, we're far too focused on one thing. Oh, well, if I just had abs, if I just had arms, if I just had 2 stone weight loss, if I just got into this dress, if I just managed to even run the Great North Run, which is great. But what next? What's the next thing? The next thing is, like, we need to be thinking about, like, health is wealth for longevity, isn't it? Like, I'm pretty sure you want to get to your 60s and your 70s, and yeah, you might not be training hard 6 days a week, but you'll be doing something every day, more or less.
I want to be, to coin a phrase, kicking ass into my 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Why not?
I look around me and I see people that are, my parents' generation and older, and there's a real range, and people younger, if I'm honest. There's a real range. There's people that are still really active and look good for their age, and they're healthy and fit, and they're doing stuff and having experiences. And there's other people who just seem to deteriorate super, super quick. Yeah. And their world becomes smaller as a consequence. Yeah. And I think it's about that thing of, like, not focusing on, I'll be happy when I've lost 2 stone. Yes. Or I'll be happy when I can run the Great North Run or whatever. Because that's all well and good, but then that's like what you're telling yourself is, well, I won't be happy until. Yes, exactly. Happens.
But when I'm happy, I will then.
And then, well, exactly, yeah. And the other side of that with something like the weight loss thing. Yeah, Chris Tibbett said a great thing last year, I think it was, about the fastest way to lose weight is slowly. Slowly, yeah. Because, and I've done this myself in the past, I've like gone really extreme with what I eat and the amount of exercise I've done over the years. So there's been times where I have dropped weight really fast. Yes. And then I've got to what I thought was my goal weight, and it's like, what now? Well, I can't. The way I've been doing this is not sustainable. Yes. And even if it was, I don't want to live like that anyway. Yeah. So it's much better to find a way that's actually like, which I think I have now, which is like, I could happily continue with the level of training that I'm doing now and the way that I eat now for the rest of my days. Yeah. And it doesn't feel like I'm doing it because I need to get to an end point.
Doesn't feel like a chore either.
It's not a chore.
It's part of who you are. Exactly. It's ingrained in your identity. Because you're doing a one-size-fits-one approach. You've took so many different things from over the years. Obviously, you've learned quite a lot with myself and whoever else you've been studying or working with previously, and you've kind of formulated what works for you. Thankfully, we have a great structure within my program, within TST for the morning routine and all that. But you've found, again, what works for you that's sustainable. And that's most people's problems, is they're looking at someone else's plan too much and think it should be that way or it should be like that. Yeah. Like when the new film comes out and they're looking for The Rock or Chris Hemsworth's training plan so they can get jacked like him, I'm like, well, but the thing is, The Rock's been jacked for 30 years. Yeah. Because he, at the end of the day, I know we're talking Hollywood, we're talking genetics, we're talking possible steroid use, but at the end of the day, when we look at people who have been in shape a long time, it's a lifestyle choice. It's not that they followed a 12-week plan and got in shape. Yeah, there's certain people who get in shape for movie roles, but the real people who we take a lot of inspiration from, who are just always in shape, those are the people who've developed it as a lifestyle and a way of living. So I'm curious, what 3 quick fire tips would you give to somebody who's maybe just starting off, kind of doesn't know where to go, would love to get into a longer term healthy lifestyle / longer term routine, because I'm not, as you know, one for 8-week transformations that we see, or, you know, shred weight loss in 12 weeks or whatever. We've worked together a long time. What 3 tips would you give to somebody who's like needs to get into a healthy lifestyle? What would you say?
Wow. Number 1, I think, is about environment.
Yeah.
And so that's not just the physical places that you put yourself, but it's the people that you surround yourself with and the kind of information that you expose yourself
100%.
to. And, you know, there's access to so much information out there, and not all of it good.
Yeah.
And there's so many influences out there, and not all of them have your best interests at heart.
Yeah, hang around with 10 pissheads, what are you going to be?
Absolutely,
The 11th pisshead.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So definitely there's something about environment and community and being around people that share similar aspirations and goals to you, and more importantly, people that want to see you succeed.
Yes.
You know, and maybe you might have resistance or criticism from some people in your life, because
I think that's a definite, mate, not a maybe. That's a definite.
Yeah.
You will. No doubt.
You will. And, you know, you always get people that say, oh, I don't think it's healthy to... I'm not sure it's healthy to train 6 days a week.
Jump in the sea and
exactly,
eat those things that you eat all the time. And
so I think you need to get around people that are of a similar mind, that want to see you succeed.
Absolutely. And
will be your kind of cheerleaders and supporters. So the environment thing's key.
Yeah.
The second thing I would say is just the consistency thing. But having in mind with that you're not talking about being perfect every single day.